Shalom, welcome to Shalom Adventures Hebrew Lessons at shalomadventure.com. It'll be broadcast there. This is a very important lesson, lesson number 1. It's going to be an introduction. We're going to be looking at Hebrew a little bit. We're going to be actually looking at Hebrew compared to English more than we'll be doing Hebrew in this first lesson, but it's an important lesson as I want to show you how easy Hebrew is, or really I want to show you how hard English is, because everyone here, I believe, speaks English and reads English, and so if you've been able to conquer that, Hebrew is going to be a breeze, and that's the point of today's lesson. So first question, a little bit about English. To read an English newspaper or a home page of a web page or something like that, how many letters do you need to know for English? Okay, 26? Wrong. 52, because we got lowercase and uppercase letters in Hebrew, in English, that we'd have to know. And each letter is a different size, right? Like, some of them look similar, but that N, the uppercase N, is different than a lowercase n. So how about in Hebrew, to read a Hebrew home page, how many letters would you need to know? Okay, 22. 22, not quite. There are 22 Hebrew letters in the Hebrew alphabet, but there are 41 when we include vowels, and some letters have a final letter, and we'll get into that, a final form, a little different form when it's at the end of a word. So it's actually 41 different symbols that you'll have to learn for Hebrew, which is less than English. Someone coming over and learning English, whether they came from a place that had a totally different alphabet, right, like Russia or Arabic or Hebrew, they have a totally different looking alphabet than English does, and they'd have to learn 52 different symbols. That's basically all a letter is. A letter is a symbol, right? And so that's what we're going to be learning. We're going to learn the symbols, and then we'll learn the sounds as well. So how many sounds are there in the English language? Okay, to read English, how many different sounds does a person have to be able to pronounce to learn English? Okay, there's 26 letters, right? 52 different symbols when we count uppercase and lowercase in English. But as far as sounds, 26 letters total. There's 44 sounds in English, maybe give or take, depending on who you ask. But 44 different sounds, possible sounds, that the English language can make in just reading those 26 different letters. And so that's pretty amazing. 26 letters and 44 sounds. Now how about in Hebrew? How many sounds are there in the Hebrew language? All right, so we saw there were 22 letters plus the vowels and stuff, so 41 different shapes. So how many? Only 23 sounds. So much fewer sounds in the Hebrew language than there is in the English language. So it's going to be much easier to learn the symbols than someone learning English, because again, in English you have to learn 52 different symbols, and in Hebrew we only have to learn 41. And in English someone has to learn 44 sounds. In Hebrew you're only going to have to learn 23 sounds, and you already know those sounds, all except for one. We're only going to be teaching you one new sound that we don't have in English. Otherwise, the 22 other sounds we already know, because we already know them from they're the same as in English. We're just going to learn those sounds with those symbols or with those letters, right? That's all a letter is a symbol, right? And so who said that's what a G is, right? Someone somewhere along the line said that's what a lowercase g is supposed to look like, which is different than the uppercase G. And so that's what was decided, and that's why we accepted. And so Hebrew is the same way. We're going to learn new symbols. They're going to look different to you. You've never seen them before, maybe, unless you've tried to learn Hebrew before. And so we're going to learn these letters, and we're going to teach you how easy it is to learn these letters. We'll give you little hints to help remember what those symbols, those letters look like and the sounds they make. And again, it'll be easier than English, and that's the purpose of today's lesson, is to compare it with English and to give you hope that it's easier. So again, with English, right, that's the letter C, right? It's a symbol. Someone said that's supposed to be the C sound. That's fine. I accept it. All right, and so what sound does that make? An S kind of sound, okay. So like in sat, that's cat, right? All right, well, cat, so it also makes a K kind of sound, right? So like in Kent. Oh, that time it's supposed to be the S sound. Okay, right? So, who made that up, that this one symbol can make two different sounds? In Hebrew, we're not going to have that problem. Every letter has a sound, and it always makes that sound. It never makes 2 or 3 different variations of sounds like English does, like in that example there. Or like the K in English, right? What sound does the K make? The K. Well, that C also makes that K sound sometimes too, right? And so that makes the K sound like in this word, canoe, right? Or is that canal? Is that canal or is that canoe? Right? Well, if it's a silent K, right, then right, because if it's a silent K, we drop off the K, and that is now, then why isn't that now if it's just a silent K? I guess we kind of have a silent K, and then that's no, right? Well, that's no, and it doesn't have a W at the end, and it doesn't have a K at the front. So it's a silent K, and it's really a silent W. In a sense, we can look at that. So English, again, English is so hard. Someone coming over here learn that, they got to learn all these things. The K makes this sound, sometimes it's silent. The W makes this sound, sometimes it's silent. The C is this is so confusing. The P, what sound does the P make? You're getting a little leery now. I say, okay, P, right? But sometimes it's silent, right? Like in psychology or psychiatrist, right? It's a silent P sometimes. Crazy, crazy English language. The H, what sound does that make? Huh. Right? So if we put a PH together, we'd have paha, right? But no, we make it an F sound, a f, right? When we put it together. I don't know why, right? And so we got phone, right? And so if that's phone and the PH is the F sound, then this should be f, and that's one, right? Isn't that one? So why isn't this fun? Why is it phone? Or for one? Or something like that. I don't know, but that's English. And again, I am so thankful I'm not here to teach English. I'm so thankful you didn't come here to learn English, because English is horrible. It'll take you years to learn English. Hebrew, we're going to learn Hebrew in 18 lessons. 18 lessons. You will be able to go home and read Hebrew, read any Hebrew, read a Hebrew Bible, read a Hebrew newspaper. You'll be able to read Hebrew with vowels by the time we're done with 18 lessons. And our lessons are only going to be about 10 minutes, some 5 minutes, even the beginning ones maybe only about 3 minutes. We're going to go through these very quickly, and so within about 2, maybe 3 hours, you'll be able to read Hebrew completely, where again it would take years to learn English with all its rules and its exceptions to its rules. Hebrew is going to be so easy. We're going to go right through it very simply, and you'll learn it and enjoy learning it and have a good time. And so, like I said, that's 18 lessons, and really the last lesson is a review of vocabulary. We'll learn about 35 vocabulary words, and the lesson before that is just going to be a review of the sounds, and then this one was just a review really of English. And so really in 15 lessons, you'll go home and be able to read Hebrew. Again, another crazy English, right? So if the PH is F, then we also got the F that's the F, like in fig. We got the F like in phone. And now the GH sometimes in English makes the F sound, right? Like in cough, right? Why isn't that cough, guh, right? Well, that's English. Hebrew, we're not going to have that problem because Hebrew always makes the sounds. Look at this sentence. Very simple sentence, right? Are you in a house? Right? That's easy for us to read. But again, someone coming over and learning English, and they learn the A makes the R makes the R, the E makes the E, right? And so how come that R is not are or are-e, right? E is sometimes S, sometimes it's E pronunciation. So where do we get R out of that? I don't know. How about you? Why isn't that ya-o or ya-o-u or something like that, right? And then in, how do we know that's a I, in, and not a long I, n, ein, instead of in, and we a, sometimes some pronounce it a, and then house, right? And so we got the ow in house, and we got the silent E, right? So how do we know it's a silent E? I don't know. And so you had ow in house. So if that's ow, O-U is ow, like in house, then how come this isn't yow? Why is it you? I don't know. All right, and how about this one? Go to the office. Pretty simple sentence, right? Any kindergartner should be able to read that, right? Well, not so easy. Let's look at this. Go, right? So we got the O, long O, toe. Go toe. Oh, it's not a long O that time? How come it's not a long O that time? Why is it two? Why does it make the oo sound? I don't know. But that's English. Go to, or this could be goo to. I don't know. The. How do we get the out of that? T-H, T-H-E? Or, right? He, H-E is he. How come it's not to he? T-H makes the sound. So we get all these sounds, all these exceptions. Office, right? Well, we got two words there, off, and then I-C-E. Well, isn't I-C-E ice? So how come this is not off ice? How come it's office? Right, so if you're teaching a kid or someone, again, coming from another country, and they teach them ice, well, then they look at this word, and they teach them off, and so they look at that, and they go, off ice, right? Or you think they would, right? So English is so hard. We don't have those problems in Hebrew. That's why in just 15 simple lessons, with the review in this one, 18 simple lessons, be able to learn how to read Hebrew. Because the Hebrew letters always make the same sound. They're not sometimes silent. We do have a couple of Hebrew letters that are silent. We'll get into that. But they're always silent. And the letters, when they make the sound, if they make the p sound or the b sound or whatever, they always make that sound. Now, I don't know. Maybe someone can find some exception somewhere and teach me something I didn't know. But my understanding is they always, always make the sound. And so they're very consistent in that. And the sound is the first sound in the letter's name. So when we learn the letter's name, right, like bet, it makes what sound then? Would you think bet? If it always makes the sound of the first sound in its name, buh, makes the buh sound, right? Like bet, right? Or like in ball in English, right? So it always makes it sound. We don't have that as easy in English. So once we learn the names of the letters, and you know the sound, there's only a couple of sections. That is the vowels. The vowels don't match up, and of course the two silent ones. But all the rest of them, all the rest of your regular consonant ones, you learn the name, and then we know the sound. And so Hebrew, again, will be so easy as we go through this class together. Thank you for joining us for this lesson. Again, all the lessons are going to be short. This one maybe is a little longer than most, maybe 10 minutes or less. The lessons will be at shalomadventure.com. We thank you for joining us for our Shalom Adventure Hebrew lesson.